Hey everyone, it's Matthew Greenwood with our Fireside chat again tonight. So we're live on Matthew Greenwood Spiritual Journeys Facebook site and My Time TV Live. So guys, welcome to tonight. We're going to be talking about the journey of the drum and the importance and how it's been in so many societies, so many cultures on the planet for such a long time. But we'll go into a little bit of detail about that. As usual, tonight, please come in and ask questions. If you do, send a message in. You've got the opportunity to get into the grounding exercise that's online. You can take that with you. And this grounding exercise is so important these days. With everything, all the fear stuff that's being thrown at us. Don't have to tell you about that one. Hey, Melissa. Hey, Anne. G'day, Sarah. And Anne Barkley. Hey, guys. Welcome in. So, but don't forget to tell your friends, let them know what's going on tonight. They may just be interested. And there's some really great information. I even did some searching for some things that I wasn't quite sure of and found some surprises. So hope you'll enjoy tonight. Hey, Anna. All right. Okay, let's do this grounding exercise to start with. Hi, Jasmine. This is a reminder so that you're doing this on a regular basis. This will help you to be far more stable through your day and through your week, and just get so much more out of your day. Have a nice clear head and feel nice and grounded and connected. So, last week's winner. Dear me, I forgot. So, winner of the Free Spirit Guide reading, which, for a change, is a guy. So, hey, Troy Yusoff, we'll be sending you a message to let you know that you've won the Free Spirit Guide reading. And I'll be here whenever you're ready, so you can give me a ring when you're able to fit in one of the readings. So I do work some Saturdays, but I mainly work through the day. Fortunately, I don't do evenings, but I'm sure we can make a time somewhere. All right, let's go. So this is a grounding exercise. Find somewhere nice and comfortable, and just to begin is to close your eyes and nice, deep, full breaths. So with those nice, deep, full breaths, make it around about 4 seconds, 3 to 4 seconds in and 3 to 4 seconds out. It isn't a crime if you don't do exactly 3 to 4 seconds, but just do as full a breath as you can in and out. What this conscious, full and open breathing does, it's a part of many spiritual practices, and the whole reason for it is to be taking in nice, clean energy, nice, clean life force on a regular basis. So with the next deep breath in, visualizing, pulling that life force in, and this time with the breath out, I'd like you to push that energy that you've just breathed in down through your body, your base chakra, your legs and feet, and then down into the earth. Just feel that flowing all the way through, from your head right down through to your feet, and then down into the earth. And this is the surface level of grounding. We're going to take you deeper in a minute, so keep that same cycle of breathing, just going for a little bit. Remembering, nice deep breaths, pulling that life force in, the breath in, taking that in beautifully, and then with the breath out, pushing it down through your body, base chakra, legs and feet, and down into the earth. All right, so from there, we're going to go deeper. The deepest chakra point we have is right down at the core of the earth. We have a string of chakras right down through to that point. We're going to go to the deepest. So taking another nice deep full breath in. This time with the breath out, I want you to drive that energy right down to the core of the earth. It will go down there quickly. Just keep that same cycle of breathing going. Beautiful. Just about there. Just a few more breaths. So when you know you've got there is generally when you can feel it's like just a sense of peace, almost like something washing over you, just a bit calmer, a bit more relaxed. Beautiful. Okay, so I want you to hold that space and relax your breath. And now we're going to go into a much higher level of frequency of your energy system, which is classified as your core star energy. And literally what it is the energy of the creator or the God force within you. Now, to start with, if you can bring your awareness to the center of your physical body to start with. Nothing else, just the center of your physical. As you find that space, knowing that you're far more than physical and you exist on many dimensional planes, and within us is like a whole universe. And what we're going to do is dive to the center of that universe. So as you let yourself go, and then just start flying deep into that universe until you see, sense, or feel a high vibrational energy source or a light. It can be as simple as that. Just allow yourself to keep flying deeper and deeper. Once you connect with that energy, and you'll feel a difference, you'll know it when you feel it. Even if you've never done it before, you'll get a recognition of it. So now you're in the driver's seat of that energy within your energy system. So what I'd like you to do is set an intention to allow that light to expand out from deep within your core, expanding out through your energy system within you, coming up through into the physical body, filling up your physical, imagining that light touching every cell in your body. And as your physical body fills with light, now expanding it out beyond your physical into an area about 3 to 4 meters out in all directions. This is expanding your energy out to about your ninth energy body. Expanding that light out, I should say, into your ninth energy body and everything within that too. All right, now that space is filled, on the count of 3, I want everyone to just let it explode out in all directions, no boundaries, limitlessly. So ready, 1, 2, and 3. Just let it go. Remember, no limitations. There is a freedom within this space, an expansiveness. Just enjoy that feeling. Even imagine that light your energy expanding out through time and space, not just space. Imagine it expanding out through into your past, as if every second of your life is now being touched by that light from your past, and also expanding it out into your future, all at the same time. And imagine that light setting an intention as you expand it out into your future, setting an intention that that light shine the way to the most powerful, the strongest spiritual journey that you can take, the optimum spiritual path. So it literally is as if that light is shining the way, and you will feel, if you have a choice at any time of which way to go, just feel which path has that light, has that high level of energy, and that will be your choice. Intentions are very powerful things. Excellent, guys. So now, to bring you back from that, thinking about your physical body now, and we're going to finish off with where we started. So taking nice deep full breaths again, breathing in that life force once more. With the breath out now, pushing that energy, that life force down through your body, your base chakra, your legs, your feet, and down into the earth. Beautiful. We're back. Hope you enjoyed that. So that's a grounding exercise that once you've done it a few times, it should only take you half a minute. It doesn't need to take you as long as we did then. All I'm doing is trying to help you to feel every little part of it. But once you've got that intention and you know how to do it, literally it will take half a minute. And hi, Trina. All right, here we go. So what I'd like to start off with is, let's just get my little book. I was doing a bit of searching and I found this beautiful story about the drum. Now this story is based from the Abenaki tribe, which is over on the eastern side of the northern US. And I just love this story. So it said that when Creator was giving a place for all the spirits to dwell who would be taking part in the inhabitants of Mother Earth, there came a sound, a loud boom from off in the distance. As Creator listened, the sound kept coming closer and closer until it was right in front of the Creator. "Who are you?" asked the Creator. "I am the spirit of the drum." That was the reply. "I've come here to ask you to allow me to take part in this wonderful thing." "How will you take part?" Creator questioned. "I would like to accompany the singing of the people. When they sing from their hearts, I will too sing as though I was the heartbeat of Mother Earth. In that way, all creation will sing in harmony." Creator granted the request, and from then on, the drum accompanied the people's voices. So it's said through all Indigenous tribes that there have been drums. And look, I've been lucky enough to go to spend a lot of time in America. I'll just say a quick few hello. Hey, Janelle. Hey, Karen. I've traveled over to America quite a few times. I've lived with the Lakota culture over there. And the drum is very much a part of all of the Native American culture. One of the most powerful energies at probably one of the biggest ceremonies, the powwows. So the powwows are like a celebration of dancing, singing, and drumming. And so one of the types of drums that the Native Americans have, First Nation people in the States, they have these powwow drums, which are sometimes up to about 3 feet in diameter, just under a meter in diameter, and quite deep in the height of them. They generally have a buffalo or a horse skin on them, because the horse to them, just as much as the buffalo is seen as a very powerful energy, and so these drums would have anything up to 10 men around the drums, and they're beating all in unison and singing, and they're the ones that are the music behind the dancers. And so the power, the energy behind these drums is what fuels the people. And it's said that it's the drum that holds the energy of the people together. And you can just see it and feel it when you're involved in those beautiful ceremonies over there. And the powwow was one of the best. But in any ceremonies over there, the drum is a huge part of it, because there are certain songs that are sung at certain times, and those songs aren't sung without the drum. And so the drum plays an incredibly powerful part. So the powwow drums are very large, but in just about every culture on the planet, drums are very much a part of their society and their spirituality and for singing too, and just for entertainment, for music. But generally, all music have a story behind them. And I mean, let's look at, you've got the Native American culture, you've got the South American culture, they have drums. The African culture definitely has drums. Now, the Aboriginal culture. Now, I was always curious. I've never seen a traditional Aboriginal drum, but there is. And a friend of mine, anyone that's from South Australia, would have heard of Uncle Moogie. He's one of the Narrandjeri people. He's an elder and a medicine man. And he showed me that the drums they use are a little bit different. What they have is a soft possum skin with the skin actually on the outside and the fur on the inside. So they'll sew two pads of possum skin with the fur on together, but the actual fur is on the inside. Then there's a little strap that they put their hand in, and then they beat this against their other hand with this on one hand, and so the sound, maybe it's not quite like a drum that we're used to, but it sure makes a noise. So they have their own drums. Now, it's not just the native cultures, but there's the pagan cultures. There's the Wiccan, the Druids, and the Celts. And the Celts in particular have a particular side drum that is a beautiful drum. And generally, it's not played with a beater. It's played with, it is played with a beater or the hand. But generally, the beaters aren't padded. They actually are just a strip of timber that's shaped, and it's the actual timber that's hitting the drum skin. And it's, if that's the drum, I should pick a drum up because I've got a few here. Yeah. So if that's the drum, it'll be held, let's say, kind of like this. And so they have their own sound. And so this is, it's amazing to go through the history of the drum, because the drum is there not just for music. The stories, which really are the stories of the people, which goes through into the through to the elders and the stories that the elders told. So there's this following a line of energy that goes back into the past, into their history. And so this really does connect them with who they are. It anchors their energy into the earth. And those songs are the stories that keep the people together. And you see this, again, having lived with the Lakota people, you see how strong this is and how important it is for the people too, because it can be very easy for the culture to be watered down if you allow it to, by separating from the culture and the cultural ways. Whereas when you hold those ceremonies and rituals strong within yourself, then you hold that strong to the culture, and that keeps the culture strong. And this is so important. These cultures can't be watered down. They're what holds not just their people together, but it actually holds us together too, because in a lot of ways we've forgotten our stories, the good stories. We've not the stories on Facebook. This is the real stories of who we are, and it's important that that truth be allowed to come to the surface so that we can have a history, a good history to tell. We have to understand that, and we have to learn that. So what have I got here? I've got the fact that there are different types of drums. So there's all kinds of shapes and sizes. One of the most beautiful drums that I've seen is a very raw looking drum, and it's made by one of the a group of people, a family I should say, in not on Rosebud but near Rosebud Indian Reservation in a little town called Rapid City. And these drums are not prissy, they're not perfectly round, they're actually a tree that's been hollowed out with just maybe about 30 millimeter thickness of that outside edge of the tree, and then it might be say 30 centimeters high instead of 30 millimeters thick, and this is what they use to actually skin. And so they'll have incredibly beautiful paintwork on their drums. And so the drums are very important, not just for sound, not just for connection to spirit, but also, and not just the stories that are sung, but also the stories that are painted on the drum. And this is what makes these so powerful, because it's all part of the journey that the drum gives the people. The drums that I make, because I'm going to give a plug. I do have a couple of drum making workshops coming up. One on the 11th, Wednesday, the 11th of August, not far away, and one on Sunday, the 19th of September. And one thing that happened for me, I'd like to just share a few things with you. So when I first wanted to run a drum making workshop, this was going back probably about 8 years ago, and I had the experience of trying to work out what sort of frame did I want to make? Did I want to make a round frame, or did I want to make, say, a faceted frame? And it kept coming up in my head, and I couldn't say where it was coming from. I'm pretty sure I know. I'm pretty sure it came from one of my guides in particular. But it kept coming up that I should be making a 13-sided frame, and that's a small version of it right there. So it's not actually, I made this drum up for children, but it can definitely be played by adults too. It's a great little size. So I actually make 3 different sizes in that 13-sided drum. Now, what's really important is how this information came to me. So I'm looking at this fact that I needed to make a 13-sided drum, and I'm trying to work out why. And so the first thing I did is I went and Googled 13-sided drum. And what I ended up coming up with on Google, the first thing that came up was 13 moon calendar. And then I went, oh, of course. And so then I started looking deeper at the 13 moon calendar and the information for each moon cycle. And it's actually like a journey. And it's one step after the other. It's a spiritual journey of awakening through those 13 moons. And of course, now what I get people to do is write that information down on the inside of each of the 13 panels of the frame. And so they're armed with that information there. But it was interesting because when I actually created the date of the drum making workshop, at the last moment, we had to change it to about a week later. And it just so happened that that week later, which I hadn't researched, was the first day, the actual day that the workshop fell on was the first day of the 13 moon calendar, which is the 26th of July, which we're in, and this is really important for us now, we are actually in the first moon cycle for this next 13 moon cycles. So this is an incredible aspect to remember, because this is where the journey begins of growth for this the series of moon cycles coming up. So what we are being asked to do with this moon cycle, and particularly when the full moon comes into this moon cycle, you're going to feel energy around you that is directing you to look at what you want for your near future. So what is the focus for this 13 moon cycle that's coming up? What's the end result you want at the end, next July on the 26th? So this is a very powerful time for all of us. And with all of the changes that are going on around us, it's really important that we choose well. So this is one thing that I thought was really important, because it just showed me that what I was doing was the right thing, to be making, number one, a 13-sided drum, and the other thing, to be bringing this information in of the 13 moon calendar. Now, one thing that I then went on to do more research, and that the fact that back in the 1300s, the Roman Catholic Church actually stopped allowing the people, the villagers, to work with the moon cycles. The church restricted the people to work under a 12-month calendar. Now, what this did is it took people out of sync with nature, because they weren't just told that they couldn't do that. It was enforced through being put in jail, or sometimes worse. And so they had to eradicate that from their thoughts, which you just can't do. And it's part of them. So the reason why that was done was, when you take people out of sync with nature, which is definitely what's happening at the moment, you separate people, then what that creates is an imbalance. It ungrounds people, and guess what? It makes them easily controllable. So, and that's exactly what's happening now. So we don't want that to happen. So it's kind of a good thing to start looking beyond what's the obvious in our life. And having a little bit of a look into the 13 moon cycles is really quite interesting. And if you do want any information on that, just give me a call or text me, and I'm happy to give you that info. Now, another little story I wanted to share, and this is kind of brings the drum into another level, particularly around singing, chanting, and connecting to spirit. It was a really important time for me when I was I started to make drums. Hadn't quite got the workshop happening. That was in Western Australia when I made that did that first drum making workshop. But I was running workshops here around shamanism, and I still do. And so what happened, I was out in the forest with a group of people, and we were just on the tail end of finishing level 2 workshop, which entails going into the forest for the day. And we were in a circle, and we were doing some drumming, and I never said anything about singing, but I think one of the ladies was. And what happened for me is, so I'm drumming away, and I start to hear this chanting behind me, and I can feel an energy building behind my throat chakra, at the back of my throat chakra. And then as I couldn't not repeat what I was hearing, so I started to chant what I was hearing, and then it just started to flow through me. And I had the most incredible experience of energy flowing down, almost shaking me, right down through into the earth, coming back up through me, and then going right back down into the earth again. It was incredibly powerful. So can't say how powerful that was. But then that voice came out, which I didn't realize I had, and I certainly haven't stopped using it now. And what I do, I use it in the healing process when I'm working with people. At certain times during the healing process, I'll bring in the drum, and it's a very powerful time, because generally one of my medicine men are around me, one of my guides, and generally the person on the receiving end of the healing session gets very emotional, and we clear a lot of energy when that happens. So it's the drum is a very grounding and very earthy energy. Hey Karen, hi Matthew and all. Thank you. Enjoyed the grounding. Fantastic. That's great. Hey Sarah, over in New Zealand. So that then pushed me to learn more about singing to start with, and then pushed me more to learn about drums and drum making. So this is where the 13-sided drum came in, and I'm perfecting that, and I'm actually starting to perfect a Siberian drum. If you've ever seen a Siberian drum, it has they're generally round, but they have these bulbous little bits all around them. And I'd always wondered what they were, but what I found that they are ways to tension the skin of the drum when it's damp, when it's a bit cold, and the drum tends to sink in a bit and you don't get much sound out of it. You can actually tension the drum up using those. And so I'm perfecting one of these, so a drum can be used anytime, in any weather. And so yeah, that just brings a whole new level to the drums, and it's handy being an ex-furniture maker, like, let me tell you. So using it for doing medicine work, I ran a level 1 shamanism workshop on the weekend, and I was showing people how to use the resonance of the drum, which, if we have a look at this little drum, because it's easier to put it up on screen. So when I'm hitting the drum like this, I'll just face that around. This here is what's commonly known as the back of the drum, and this is the face of the drum. But the majority of the sound goes that way. It goes from the back of the drum out. Now, when you're drumming someone, and I'll tell you why in a sec, you generally face the back side to them. So you'd be beating the drum to them like that, and the drum would be that direction. Now, why we do that is because the sound that travels from the back of the drum out, because this is like a speaker, it's like an amplifier. So as the sound travels from the drum, if there's a low vibrational aspect to the person's aura in the auric field, which could be emotional baggage, it could be anything, it could be physical pain or a physical issue, what happens? The sound of the drum changes, and you can actually pick up on that sound change. I did that in a class situation, and as far as I could see, everyone picked up on that change in sound. So what that's showing you is that the sound of the drum is not able to easily flow through a certain area because there's density to anything where there's emotional baggage that's stuck in the aura. Generally, the aura the energy in the aura doesn't flow well there. So there's a density to it that's not everywhere else in the aura. So that actually stands out quite strongly when you're drumming. Now, what you can do is just continue to drum that area with the intention, and this is where an intention is very strong and very powerful, with an intention to basically break down that dense energy with the sound of the drum. Now, you don't want to bash it really loud, particularly around the head, because the person's sensory abilities, particularly when they're standing there and they're hearing your drum, last thing you want to be doing is blasting them with very heavy sound, but just a nice regular sound which then permeates through that density. All it takes is you to have that intention, and that's exactly what that energy does. So intention is a very powerful aspect to this. That's one way of using a drum. Now there are other methods too, and I do teach this stuff. So, and look, guys, what I'd love is some questions. It's great that you're all there, but throw some questions at me. I'd love to hear some. Anything that you'd like to know about the drums. So some of the skins I use are goat, kangaroo, deer, and there is available here in South Australia elk, which is one of the biggest biggest deer that you can get on the planet. Moose are the only animals bigger than elk, and so just to give you a comparison, with a fallow deer, the ones that look like Bambi, hate to use that connotation, a poor little Bambi, but with that skin of a fallow deer, you can only generally get one drum out of a fallow deer's skin, unless it's a really big fallow deer. Red deer, you can get maybe two. With an elk, you can get at least 6, depending on the size of the drum that you're after. And so this is just some of the hides that can be used, but you can also use what the Native Americans use, which is horse and buffalo. So buffalo, probably one of the most sought after drums, because what happens is when you're using a drum, if there's a lot of moisture in the air, the drum will sag and you won't get much of a sound out of it. But buffalo skin is probably about 5 times the thickness of fallow deer, and you're going to get sound out of that buffalo drum for much longer, because it's going to take a lot longer to absorb that moisture, which is going to make the drum a bit floppy. Okay, we've got some questions. Yay. Can you have a vegan drum? Carol, yes, you can. The problem is it can't be strung up the same way because it tears very easily. I've had quite a few people that have not wanted to make a natural skin drum, and I've actually talked to them and shown them. They've come up to my house and had a look at quite a few drums, and they've ended up being happy to make a drum. They weren't sure how they were going to go, but they actually did really well. Now, the biggest, I suppose, issue a lot of people have is that they think it's cruel what the animal would go through to actually give us that skin. With the Native American culture, and with any native culture, there's always an honoring of that skin. And when you consider how a deer, so let's say a deer, could be killed in nature, naturally, it can be brought down by a pack of wolves. You know, it can be, I hate to get blatant here, but it can be torn apart. Whereas when someone's hunting for deer, they'll just have one gunshot and to the head, and it won't feel it. And it pretty much goes fairly quickly. And but the honoring of the animal is the most important part at the end. Once that happens, you're honoring that animal to give you, or to allow you to use a part of them, which then becomes a part of you. And this is where the magic really comes for the use of a drum, because you don't just have an object, you have the spirit of that animal with you all the time, which unfortunately you don't with a vegan skin. Probably something for you to think about with that one. I won't go any further with that conversation. But happy to have a chat with you, Carol, at any time if you want. So Megan, hi Matthew, what's your take on drums that have had artwork painted on the face of them? Oh, I think it's great. Let me give you an example. So there's a drum. This is the first drum I ever made. And yep, I painted a drum. So that's bear claws. And yeah, it represents me, because I do have bear energy with me. And that's just one thing that you can paint. And there are really good quality acrylic paints. Don't use oils because the actual oil aspect of the paint will bleed into the drum, and you'll get a line about 5 millimeters around whatever you paint. It'll have an oily surrounding around it. Whereas there are some really good quality acrylics that have a lot of solids in them, so a lot of thick coloring in them, and virtually with one application you can achieve that depth of color on it. Look, I've painted multicolors on drums too, and yeah, it's very easy. And if you're interested in knowing how to, again, I show people how to do that too. There's ways and means of painting a drum that you don't have to be an artist to do it. So hope that helps with that one. How can a drum be used for self-healing or room house clearing? Little bit hard for self-healing because you need a little bit of distance between you and the drum. So this is where you can get, because I know you're married, Sarah, this is where you get your husband to help out and get him into the throes of doing healing work too. But you can show other people how to use the drum as well. But certainly with clearing a house or clearing a room, just as I was talking before about any negative energy or any blocked energy in your body or in a person's body, to drum it, and you'd be able to feel it when you're actually drumming around the room. You'd be able to feel where that heavy energy is. Then just keep drumming it until the drum sound changes back to the sound of the rest of the room. And that's pretty much your indicator that you've got it right. Thanks for that question, Sarah. And don't know who this is from, but just says Facebook user. So I imagine elk would make a nice drum skin. It's absolutely beautiful. Haven't got one. I do have one. It's just not here with me. but they are beautiful skins. They're generally quite a lot thicker than a normal deer. They do have a lot more depth, and when you're making a big drum, that's it's great to have elk because you get much more a deeper resonance, and the coloring is fantastic. The fallow deer hides are quite light in color, but the elk hides are absolutely beautiful. They're a lot of random darker colors, which looks fantastic. And Christina, do different skins produce different sounds? Yes, I can guarantee you that you won't have two drums exactly the same, because different skins have a different. Say it might come from an animal that has a different age, so there may be more tension in the skin. It might be tighter. A goat skin, for instance, I've found, because I used to use all deer skin, the only ones I've been able to get that have a great sound is goat of late. And what I'm finding is the goat skins have a much more, it's a resilient sound that isn't affected by moisture or by a lot of heat. Because when you think about goats, I've driven through Central Australia and through middle of New South Wales, and there are goats out there in like 50-degree heat out in the sun, and particularly across the back and the sides of the body, that skin is really tough, and it isn't a big animal, and the pores of the skin must be a lot smaller, a lot tighter, and so it doesn't absorb moisture as much as deer do. Deer are generally, you don't see a lot of deer all the time out in the sun. They're generally under the trees, under the shade of the trees, and that's where they spend a lot of their life. The other thing is too, particularly for deer, they're quite a sensitive animal, and they wouldn't be out on show for all their prey to see. And so they'd be pretty much, under cover most of the time, and so the skin is a lot more tender, and the pores of the skin are a lot more open, so it does tend to draw in moisture content far more. But the interesting thing is, there's a lot more flexibility on the sides of the deer, whereas on a goat, it's not quite as flexible, because the skin can vary in tension throughout the whole body. And also, I find some of the best sounding skins are from a male deer that you can see that they've had a fairly hard life. There's scarring on the skin because they fight over the girls, and the bucks are always fighting for to be number one in the herd, and so fighting each other with their antlers leaves quite a lot of scarring, but it leaves a lot more character in the skin too. And those skins tend to have a much better story to tell. Let me put it that way. And that's okay, Carol. Hope it wasn't too graphic. But yeah, look, it's great doing artwork on a drum. It's very meditative, and the artwork can be whatever you want. I've seen very much non-Native American type artwork on there, and it looks fantastic. I've seen fairies and things painted on drums. It doesn't matter because we're not trying to be Native American. We are who we are. I've just been fortunate enough to spend a lot of time over there, and I've got a bit of a connection. So I do follow those ways as much as I can, and teach those ways too. So, but you can paint anything on a drum. I've seen rainbows and unicorns and all kinds of things. It's great to see. particularly nice, bright artwork is fantastic. Let's see. No problem, Sarah. Let's see what else we've got here. So one of the things that I was listening to was a guy called, he's a Kiowa, which is one of the native tribes, called Rusty Kozad. He said that the drum is the heartbeat of the culture. We follow the drum. Our voice follows that drum. It also follows Great Spirit, and Great Spirit, the Creator, cares for us just as much as the drum. As if we care for the drum cares for us, and the Creator cares for us. So this is about this endless cycle of life which the drum represents. Even though it, for me, because I'm making 13-sided drums, and I've just started developing a round drum. You could say the 13-sided drums represent one year or one term of moon cycles. But beyond that, there's a cycle around this drum, and that represents the endless life that we have. So we don't just finish in this life, we come into this life, but this part of our spiritual journey is just one aspect of our spiritual journey. And when we understand that there's more to us than just what we see in the mirror, and that we are connected to everything, we start to understand that this circle of life that is talked about is a part of everything, and just as we are a part of everything. And you start to remember, and you become a little bit more humble, and you realize that there's so much more out there that we just haven't connected with yet. And this is the journey that we've got the opportunity to really take in this life, is to explore the vastness of everything that's there. So I've got Maria Bozo. Hi. So do you have to use skins? Can you use anything else? Yeah, someone else asked that. They asked me, can you get vegan skins? And yes, you can. It's a similar type of skin that you see, or similar type of material that you see on, say, bongo drums, or drums as in a drum set for a rock and roll band. There are skins for that. But unfortunately, for this type of drum, it's very difficult to find anything that is produced that can go through the rigors of having holes cut and then pulling that string through there tight without it tearing. And it's a different set of dynamics, and you have to make the drum a different way. So, but definitely you can use. You can go to music shops. You can buy a round side drum, and you can get drums that don't have animal skin. So I can tell you that now. Making one is a different story. There are big factories that make those drums, and but these are traditional drums. So now I've got Roxy Lou. Hi, Roxy Lou. Just signed in. I've come into possession of a drum that has seal skin. Fantastic. And is more of an oval shape. Not sure where it originated from. So I do know where. I can't say for sure with your drum, but I do know where oval drums come from, and it would make sense that it's a seal skin. So it can be either, it could be Eskimo or Inuit, but it can also be Siberian. So up where it's really cold in Russia, right near the coast where seals would be. The Siberian shamans would make their drums out of anything from bear, and I'm talking polar bear, to animals like seals. Um, and and so I would say it wouldn't be from around here. It would definitely be from either northern Canada up through that area up there, or from Russia, uh, from one of the Siberian uh, areas, because I've seen this Siberian um, drum that I'm looking to make is you see them either round or oval. So, and they can also be a slight egg shape too. Just depends on who's made them. So I hope that answers your skin. I hope that answers your question. Um, and great question, because there are so many different shapes also. Um, you can have drums. I love that real rawness around certain drums. You know, drums they look all wonky. You know, they're not perfectly round. They're not even perfectly oval. They're all wobbly, but they still make that wonderful sound, and it's a very organic look to it when you see drums like that. And they look great painted up. So, is there always 13 moon cycles in each year? Yes, there is. So, there's 13 28-day cycles in a year. Now, the interesting thing is, when you do the maths, I believe that a year should have 13, so as in number of days, should have 13 28-day cycles. But that leaves one extra day. Now, what this extra day is, which the date is the 25th of July, this day was always known as, and not just in one culture, but in many cultures, this day was known as a day out of time. Now, the reason for that day out of time is it's a day to meditate, to focus on what your journey is for this next 13 moon cycles, and what to focus on. What are you visioning for this time in your life? And that's the thing that should be looked at in that day. So it's a day for not working. Um, it's not just a day to go to watch the football, not that they did back then, but or go to the Colosseum. It was a day for contemplation, and this is what I love about this stuff. All of these things have a purpose, and there's a deep resonance and always a strong spiritual connection to the journey when you understand about the stories behind the drum. There are also myths and legends, which generally aren't just myths and legends. There's definitely some strength and honouring of the connection to Great Spirit. And, you know, who's to say that the stories that the native cultures are saying in their stories are not just as powerful as the ones we have, the stories that have been made for the Bible. It's these are different facets of the same energy. So maybe the Bible just doesn't have all the stories in it. So Carol, wow, when was that day out of time? Do you know? Yes, it's the 25th of July. So it's the day before the first day of the 13 moon cycle. So 25th of July is the day out of time, and the 26th of July is when the 13 28-day cycles start. And I was going to add too, um, being a furniture maker, that's my background. I still do a bit of woodwork, not professionally. Oh, maybe a little bit. I've got the odd client that still wrestles me to get some furniture made or restored. But what I do with the frames, there's something I've always seen as being important with these drum frames, because this represents a cycle of growth. So that cycle should be all in alignment. So what I do when I'm cutting the piece of timber for this, I glue these together as they were cut. So when you look at the frame, when it hasn't got the skin on, all of the grain lines up all the way through. And so generally what people do is they'll start the information for the 13-moon cycle where the join is, and where the main join is between one end of the plank of timber and the other end, where they meet. And that represents the day out of time, that join, and then each panel after that represents the different moon cycles. So, guys, there we go. That was a little story about the drum, and I hope that was informative and it gave you a bit of understanding around the drums. So, last but not least, I'm just going to show you the different size drums, and then I'll tell you a little bit about the workshops coming up. So, I showed you the little one. You can actually see that in the photo there too. And there's the next size up. Woo, where are you? There we go. There's the little one. There's the next size up. And it's going to fill the hole. There's the big one. So there's the second size. There you go. So the biggest one is 50 centimeter diameter. The next one down is 40 centimeter, and the next one down from that's roughly about 30 centimeter. So the just getting a question here. What is the drum beater made of? Oh, good one. Okay. We didn't even talk about that, did we? So I tend to look. A lot of people that are making drums tend to. I'll show you a couple of examples. You can see that. Keep it still. So basically, that's the beater. I go out to the forest. I look for dead wood, and I'll just cut sections of dead branches off. I'll pick a nice looking one. I take all the bumps off, but we leave the bark on, and it looks very natural. Here's a really, it looks like one of the wands out of Harry Potter. But yeah, that's one of the smaller beaters. So what we have underneath, that's felt, but you can use leather. You can use soft leather for that beater. We have it's like a filler for quilts that is underneath there. You know how quilts are quite padded? It's the same sort of material under there. And then we just tie it up with a bit of artificial sinew just there. So, but definitely soft leather looks really good too. And of course you can get different colors. There's green, there's red, there's yellows you can get. There's all kinds of colors. So yeah, you can go berserk. It's up to you with your colors. You can go very natural, and I always suggest to people to have more than one drum beater, because if you have a real puffy drum beater, that's going to give you a softer sound with your drum. If you have a really tight, we'll use this round drum, and I'll give you a bit of if you can hear it over Facebook. So that's a sharp beater. That's a skinny one. It's a slightly softer, more muffled sound. Let's find a different drum. I think that's a bit big. There we go. It's a high-pitched drum, but that's the puffy beater. It's a lot sharper sound with that one. So yeah, I always suggest, because if you want to change the sound of your drum, you don't have to do anything other than get a different beater. That can really help with different sounds, particularly if you're, say, playing in a band with other people, and it's a different type of song, so you want a different type of sound. And look, what I might do to finish off, I don't know how this is going to go with how you're going to hear it, because I know Facebook, hearing this stuff online, it can get a little bit messy, but I might give you a little bit of a demo if you'd like that. So if you do, give me a nod. Someone put a message down if they want to hear me chant. Yep, all right. Just give me a few seconds. I'm going to have to take the speakers out of my earphones out. Hope you guys could hear that. My pleasure. Thanks, Karen. Beautiful. All right. Well, thanks, guys, for being a part of tonight. And just a quick run through of workshops coming up. We just had level 1. We have a drum making workshop coming up on the 11th, Wednesday the 11th. We have a drum making workshop coming up on the 19th of September. Now, in not too long, we've got a smudging workshop coming up on the 15th. We've got a spirit guide talk on the 20th of August. And we've got a galactic evening on 3rd of September. So all of these are on the Facebook site. If you want to have a little explore on the Facebook site, all of this information's there. So it'd be great to see you come along to one of these, and great to have you here. And we'll have another fireside chat next week, and love to see you there. Thanks, guys. Have a safe week. Bye for now.